Это пока.
Welcome back, Ralph and Paula. Oh my goodness. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us online and in person. So we will start with opening prayers, beginning on page 1, or with the prayers of the Dagdangma. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Buddhahood. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Nima Sangda Samge Warda Lunga Yesom Ange Wala Go. All sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in the glorious kind Lama Vajradhara, the embodiment of the body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities of the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times, source of the 84,000 categories of the teaching, and Lord of the Sanghas. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Refuge of all sentient beings without exception, divine subjugator of terrifying Mars, together with their hosts of demons, the one who understands all realities without exception exactly as they are, transcend and conquer together with your disciples, please come here to this place. The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the 4 continents, and the sun and moon. As a Buddha field, I offer it. May all sentient beings attain the happiness of the Buddha fields. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostrations, offerings, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. And then to page 11. Namo, to the Lama of utterly pure appearance and existence, I offer the fundamental ground of appearance and existence. I supplicate you to thoroughly liberate the three realms. Please grant your blessings and overturn the depths of samsara. Sublime Master, wish-fulfilling jewel, crown ornament the inconceivable, inexpressible mind of the victorious ones, the one endowed with the five wisdoms of omniscience, gracious one, the embodiment of love, precious protector of beings, I supplicate you from within the essence of mind. Please grant your blessings from within the innate nature. Please bless me that I may realize the Dharmakaya that is beyond intellect, this primordially unborn, completely pure mind. Transcend and conquer the one thus gone, foe destroyer of afflictive emotions, completely perfected Buddha, endowed with logic and virtue, the one gone to bliss, knower of the world, captain, tamer of beings, the unexcelled teacher of gods and men, I respectfully prostrate, completely touching my head to the stainless feet of the unequaled Shakya King. At the time of your birth, leader of two-legged beings, taking 7 steps on this great earth, you proclaimed, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, even then I prostrate. Possessing a body of complete purity, your sublime form is excellent. An ocean of primordial wisdom, you are like a golden mountain. The one whose renown is evident throughout the 3 worlds, protector of supreme attainment, to you I prostrate. To you who are endowed with the supreme marks, whose face is like an immaculate moon, to you, the one with a complexion like gold, I prostrate. A flawless one, such as you, among the 3 levels of existence is most exquisite. Unparalleled, omniscient one, to you I prostrate. Supreme among humans, captain of those to be tamed, the one thus gone who severs the all-binding fetters, who with senses pacified is utterly pacified and skilled in peace. To that one, the one who dwelled at Shravasti, I prostrate. Refuge endowed with great compassion, totally omniscient one who indicates the way, ground basis for oceans of merit and qualities, I prostrate to the one thus gone, the pure cause free from attachments, the virtue that liberates from the lower realms, the altogether supreme ultimate truth, to the pacifying Dharma I prostrate. Having been liberated, they also reveal the path to liberation. Thoroughly respectful of the 3 higher trainings, they are a field of sublime qualities. To the Sangha I also prostrate.
Namo Nase Namda Ge Lama Lo Nase Ye Sun Choba Mbo Kam Son Yong Do Do Sorwa De Korwa Tong Do Se Jen Je Lo Ji Je Norwe Tso Ge Je Ma San Je Me Je Be Do Anjembe Ye Nga Dan Den Zebe Danye Gare Jen Ndowa Jumze Rembo Je Zorwa De Chunye Je Ngande Jen Je Lo Ansem Do Ne Jeme Nam Da De Lo De Chugu Do Bar Jen Je Lo Chon Den De Ji Jen Ye Ba Nga Da Jong Ba Yang Da Bar Zo Be San Je Re Ba Dan Xiao Zhen Den Ba De War Ye Ba Je Den Jen Ba Ji Ren De Wa An Ka Lo Jor Wa La Na Me Ba La Na Me sajan de la gomba de
warne angane
ngane jeden de noin joje son de de geba jela changzalo nom da goma jode so zong ye ye jangzo serje lumbo da antawa jeden son na lang gombo joni jela changzalo Senjo denpa demen da ve je zendo da wa che la chang tse lo de de chu de sa ba song na de nya me chen chen che la chang tse lo amen jo de wa ka lo jong ze chen kun jo ran chen wa jong ze de yin Ombo Jedi Ye Jela Ge Nye Wu Shou Wa De Lai Zhang Zi Lu Gongbo Tu Jie Jie Den Ba Dong Jie Jien Bie Dong Ba Bo Ayong Den Jiang Zu Shen Ti Jin Jela Zhang Zi Lu Ta Bian Do Jia Ti Wei Song le do yin je de dong dai jo jo wai je jo ro jo lai chang za lo on to ne to le la yang dong la ba da la ra de ge xin je dang ba yon de je gen de la yang chang za
Okay, so we'll go to page 16. We'll do the 7 branches in the afternoon. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the 2 vehicles and their combination according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
Chi chun tu mo de ba ye chu je ko lo ko do so o dang ge do je xia je le son dong xian je me do tu je bong zhong bo se je lun bo da wo le je ve xia ji je bei xiao la ge jian zi to je jing wo de ma de he je ngo je da wa tam ji se ba kun jian chue je ji nhân min de wu ren jian gu jia yan zi wu mi chue je yin je po dang de de mu sang je kun je ngo ni rong som jiu ge ngo som tong zhe bei zai wei la mei xiao la gu jia zi 看到小九东边一点南，这个龙门就我看收到，听着东边就见前边，三不人多我当今的也些，那么要来也给当路当的几个，中道当面也给他们。我跟接着给这张吧，他们给的大概就点多。 Good morning. Good morning, everybody.天天当个做，他看上，他天天嘛，做不的，天天他就当养参的，questioning 卡里有什么呢？我他伢娃他说的顺通个有的，一大子顺通个有的。 拉子顺通个有的，上班路记他那做，头发路听的，用个有的是。
We'll continue, with the reflections. We're on, each of the 6 classes of sentient beings, and so we'll continue. And he said, it makes sense that as we reflect on these, that you might have some questioning arise, like, how do we know who's seen the hell realms? Who's seen the realms of hungry ghosts? Who's seen the gods? How do we know that these really exist?
Tadi indu karsena ngaso di tanda ta ngaso di kalla gorsena driba lawdo driba sidu nyumumbe ke driba himbinare ta hiji driba daden zimbi yuwa tela tene aslong as kaso ngaso driba yuwina tene ngaso ta tongtuguyo mare spena kambanda wuji ke jablola tongtugo mare kamba tsikpa tsikyorwa tenagi ke jigno da heji dewa nyomo dewa so daden zamba yuwe kabla tene tongtuguyo samares.
Like our capacity to see is limited because we have obscurations. There are the 2 types of obscurations that come together with the mind of self-identification or self-grasping. So as long as they're self-grasping, then we have the cognitive obscurations and we have the obscurations of afflictive emotions. And so we cannot see in a really expansive way. Like, we can't see beyond the walls of this building because we have obscurations, because of the cognitive obscurations and the obscurations of afflictive emotions.
That thing bena chachana ngaso drajomba labdo drajomba se atzo ketine ta ko karsena kharjombare daadun zimba jombare nyomomba jombare no longer ta nyomomba mewi jumsendele tene tine koran soke tene ta ngohiesena le khandariyan tene jikta bena tangita ji yeda nyarwasena khanda zo chehyote hensam heba zundu ta parjote khandiji yungu yobasare zambatan henke samba hakowa ta khanda ji yujigla khandiji ge ta deshi tuguyo nare yamana dungin yungu na to zomatene kongo sares.
So the arhats, so the word in Tibetan for arhat is dra chompa, which actually literally, dra chompa arhat, rawa? Yeah. So, which literally means the ones who have conquered the enemy. So what is the enemy that they have conquered, that the arhats have conquered? They have conquered the enemy of self-grasping and the afflictive emotions. So they have realized the truth of non-self, and therefore do not have the obscurations of afflictive emotions, and so they are not impeded in their vision, and so therefore they have clairvoyance. They have the ability to read the minds of others, to know what is in the minds of others, and to see other realms, and to see what is happening for beings in different states, beings in hungry ghost realms and hell realms, and they're able to know what is experienced in the minds of others. They're able to know whatever their intention is placed upon, like another object, another place. They're able to see, what is the situation there without the same impediments of ordinary beings.
In that zo chehoti karsenas danga zo peche kenala da song sharia de ma chehoji da of course sanje rawa da sanje ke tene da le re shin de timitsi ba da sanje ke tamjin chenba labdo tamjin chenba da khallo gorsena da le junde chahi tewa hewa higre zone wa tena gi da kanta ji kunde ke korwa da 냥데 닌자라 테네 직 랑티라 되네 다 다와나이 탈라메 통투그레 송글와
And in the text, in the scriptures, we have so the Buddha is even more unimpeded in his vision than Arhats, because the Buddha is completely and fully awakened. He has total omniscience. And so he sees everything in its multiplicity perfectly clear, as well as everything in its intrinsic essence. So the entire web of karmic interdependence, karma cause and effect, he sees absolutely clearly, each sort of detail of karmic interdependence, and sees the entire display of phenomena in samsara and nirvana as clearly as if holding them in the palm of his hand.
그가 이 상제 스페히에 가리요리 라비나 테네 진질랍토 그래 소리 가래 진질랍토 그래 라비나 테네 지 레디스 창대죠 그 강사지 요비나 텔레 진질랍티 테네 떼한토 그래 승아서 배나 파기 든지 샤다 든지 배 공라도 야메나 고라유 제도 와서야 그 상제 진질랍네 뭐 힘변 통토비아다 테네 상제 진질랍네다 그 녀송라 소발라 제요나 녀송라 제도 파기 동간 연구도 선비 상제 진질랍토 그래
Mishimba Tongyala. So also the Buddha has this special ability to direct his blessings to other great beings so that they can see what he can perceive. So for instance, someone who has really purified their obscurations to a pretty full extent, then the Buddha, through his intent, can direct his blessings to that individual so that they can see, what happens, to this or that being in the God realm, the fruition of, say, taking rebirth, like, a certain karmic deed will lead to that ripening, which will cause that being in the future to be reborn in the God realms. And so then with the blessing of the Buddha, then that... Right, yeah. So that individual with the blessing of the Buddha can see the outcome of those particular causes right here and now, like seeing, clearly the phenomena of, say, the God realm, seeing clearly the phenomena of the three lower realms, because the Buddha is able to show them through the power of his blessing.
어때들이 테네다 가서 디나네다 가서 망보지 된 통야들라 테네다 상제게 로마 테네 대요리 몽가리아나 요리 대가나 이다 가서 데 동망보지 단다디게다 직 여러와 당 이다 그 동라 테네 가서 파파카다야나 지 용구도와 대가나 이 테네다 단다 워드 퍼펙트 티처 아트네 가래 나와 치와리 삼부지 요르와 나와 치와리 그 아라지 요티테 테몽보 요레스
나와 치와리
테네 대가 나이다 가서 보크나라 양 데로스야지다 마 총바다오체 테네 양 다이 가리 힘바 카완도나 또 통양초 back to the life 진년테네 배낭아서 나자온 몸세야 요레스
가래
나자온 몸 포모지 요르와 포모
나자
온몸
고봉
테네가 타고 그 고토제로와 대히남절
다보타시 남게 what
텐데로와 데로스
데로 제여베
네
다시 다보타시 남게 텐다데 둡도
야
okay. So then, so there's also, so there are all these accounts, like also some of the Buddha's disciples were particularly had, like especially his, one of his two heart sons, Moggayana, was really adept at traveling to other realms. So he had many experiences where he traveled into like hell realms, realms of hungry ghosts, and he was especially developed in his kind of supernatural powers of clairvoyance and so forth. And then also many stories of like the noble Katayana also traveling to different realms, having different experiences. There's also one that is referred to a lot in the words of my perfect teacher, Ngawa Chiwari. I'm not sure what the Sanskrit name for him is. And then also there are lots of accounts of, in Tibet, there's what's called Daelok, which is sometimes it happens that somebody actually dies, and they die for kind of a period of time, even days. They are dead, and then they return. You know, they come back to life, and they have experiences of having been in other realms, you know, when during that period that they were dead for. So there's some famous accounts of a girl named Nangsa Wobong, and also the great master Dapotashi Namgyal also was a Daelok. He had the experience of being a Daelok.
According to the Dong Tizole Edu Karsenda, so young somebody that the Kachembore, Tangazo Motto Tondo Grua, Motongre, that particular number in a young Moton, Tene, Tonson Vecala, Ashua, Rometa Shajo, Asha. Both is all a young Samson Cocado, to the Chotan, La Louis Wodan, Lahana, La Sharia, Wodan, Tinichi. Kochi masiba marwa.
Yeah, but so Mechik Tongna, then Kongso the cremation chene, then Kongso gi ash young Samsam la Chutan Nanga Fakang Nanga Jayakir.
Tinichi Sigrawas.
The Mimang Drawayana.
Really?
Okay.
I thought you did doing some love her. What at the chair your maris? Karsena Mula, Tapananga Sonda with the Lahana, Sanjenda, Surbat Abguyore, Choba Puguyore, Chatsigiores, Sanje Dawina, Tene, that Sanjeki, Kanza Suki Chomepu, Kanza Suki Molamdap, Kanza Suki Chatsivina Tela, Karsena, Chingelap Toguyore, Nipayore, 2 10 Suki. Sanjay ke chen thugu yonare Sanjay ke yela thengi yonare Sanjay la ko hinje gi yonare thinde ke Sanjay ke chinjelap thugu yores tina degi yore ta ngaso Sanjay ko yamgu yorwa chinjelap yores yena ya khansa pheba je ke tine chi thugu yomares tinde chi matho bala khansa ma himbe ke jinga 좀 초대한다고 지금 나오는 케이스 로비나 되는 초대한테서 꼬라자기요와 꼬라자기요래 몰람자기요래 초바푸고 티치디 되네 당기게 총롱에 코라나 되네 모하비 듀티 되네 베메시위 되네 둥에 용구요 가스나 코라나 렌토비아 킨니파요 말이 친질라토야 킨니파 메디 that the most important nga maung balanga samsanta o ngi pe ta de phare ze wa chibu yo ma de da karina te ze wa chibu yo ta ko na benanga chonda wo ina ta de chote na la cha cha mo lo do cha che na la nga so samsang di na la ta de la de so te da ne lo gro o te chia yo ma is
so
most important is
So sometimes, this is also important, he said that sometimes when a loved one dies, there is the, who is, Buddhist, then there might be some who wish to do something like keep their ashes and put them in a stupa or put them in a statue or put, pieces of them somewhere sacred. It's very important not to do that. And the reason, is because, when we have like a special place of worship, like a temple or a stupa or something, the place where we come and we make prostrations and we light butter lamps and we make aspiration prayers. So the power of the Buddha is in those places, and because of the power of the Buddha's great compassion and realization, then the Buddha's blessings can benefit anyone who comes to those sacred spaces, who does prostrations, who make aspiration prayers, who do circumambulations, who light prayer lamps, butter lamps, even just the power of hearing the Buddha's name, or the power of bringing the Buddha to mind, or the power of coming into contact with any of these, exalted objects of the three jewels, brings great blessing and benefit to the one who comes into contact with them. So like the Buddha's, and that's why we put, holy objects in the statues, and we have like the statues of the Buddhas, the fully enlightened beings. So then there's benefit. But for normal people, if they die and then they have like their remains get kind of put into a holy object like a stupa or something like that, that then people circumambulate, it becomes a very, like if you think of it like a super heavy duty responsibility, and so then actually can harm that individual, like having that individual's remains mixed together with like a very powerful holy object becoming an object of reverence for others actually doesn't bring benefit to that individual. It can actually harm them. And so it's important, sometimes like people want to put like, they're like ashes in the tsatsas and then put the tsatsas in the temple, or in the stupa. But that's actually really not helpful or beneficial.
오다 티인도 다티 베네가 첨부 휴레 티인도네 에다 몽게 야나게 동제 지나 하고지레 티나라 디테일 요레 대가나 이테네 지텐 숨공케 가르송 요 세비나테네 베나 칸자 찍라 holy 와 complete 다 상지 코모토 데와 락 부다이나 디그레 펜토요 당기 콘투와나 이레 도도 테네라 도베 기통치 투그레스 텐디 마이바 completely 상마제와 제라 텐디 치나 디그마레스 코 칸자 텔레테네 베마시비 게타 코라라야 베카니요레스 노다테 케쳔보레 텐디 대가나 이양 아조 직다 등자 파트니 초혐라 디그요라와 메킴바히 소원다오다다 야나 룩소도 지양 고메텔베 지야 라생란 치디아 바르샤 테네 텔라 테니 차그도와 그래서 되게 말했어.
Parjana, okay. Yeah, so this is actually also, this has been reported by the Buddha's disciple Moggallana, who then saw directly the effects that kind of thing had on individuals. So like an individual who is like a completely holy being, who's fully purified, who has attained like complete enlightenment and can, like the Buddha, and can benefit sentient beings with that level of power, then that's okay. That's fine. That's beneficial to to treat their remains as holy objects. But for other beings, who fall short of that, then the Arhat Mogayana had like reported that, then that gives real difficulty and suffering to those individuals. And so it's really important not to do that. Like even, because sometimes there's this inclination to want to honor the person who has died, or like, put, for instance, their picture there with like the pictures of, the holy beings on your shrine. But actually it's better not to do that for the sake of that person. So like there is the tradition also in like Chinese traditions, if somebody has died, to put their photo on an altar. But according to like the Buddha's teachings, that's not beneficial, that's not helpful.
Even though like when arhat in holy in Latin chagyo mare, the the bodhisattva in yang holy in Latin chagyo mare. So in bina yatene.
So actually, like even so, Lord Jigten Sumgön says that, even an arhat, even a bodhisattva, they are not fully enlightened. So even to do that with an arhat or a bodhisattva is not appropriate.
Particular teaching yoro nga Samsara non choten jagi yore tene dinang la koda jetang chaza la sobo mombo lugu yore tene jetang nga tinde yore da chongso na chaza dab gore slavya yore chaza dab na tene mu ko kora mando ya ko pa chik me sa tomba tene kha gore ya me na chaza ma jamzo na lo gore tinde yore tene ashide so yana da chik nga holy plate lo wi na holy plate mu kora jaksa ma imba tene lo go res tene da ya jamzo na lo kana ya res lab gudwa wada di I think ya samsang ga mistake chigro wada nga tsewa yore tongken de za chen bo imba ro chiji tene.
So this is just something to like keep in the back of your mind, for the future, because there is the tradition of taking the ashes of people who have died, loved ones who have died, and making tsatsas out of them. But not putting them in stupas, and not putting them in a place, like in a holy place where people will circumambulate, where people will do prostrations and such. But instead, like if you make tsatsas with the ashes of someone who has died, to put them in like a clean place, but somewhere kind of off, the beaten path, if you will, where people will not be doing pilgrimage. Or if they're in a holy place, to leave their ashes in a holy place, but in a place that isn't like where everybody comes to worship or like to circumambulate or make prayers and things like that, but in a place that's kind of like off where people won't be congregating and worshiping. And so this is just good to know, because sometimes when we really love someone, we like want to honor them, and we want to, and we think of benefit, that it will benefit them in some way to honor them like this, but actually that is only really reserved for or appropriate for beings who are like fully enlightened Buddhas. Otherwise it can be harmful.
Okay, so now we
he said, I forgot to say, he also said that the tsatsas, or the ash, gets put in lakes or oceans, and that's a beneficial thing to do. The best, he said, is to put them in the ocean.
Okay, so now we maybe read first the Holy Ghost. Okay.
So maybe I'll start with reading the first section of the Realms of Hungry Ghosts, and then people can... So first on page 10, 3.2, the Realms of Hungry Ghosts. The hungry ghosts, Preta realms, are characterized by extreme unmet craving and, in particular, the torment of hunger and thirst. There are many causes that can lead to being reborn in the realms of hungry ghosts, but in particular, strong craving, lust, greed, and miserliness are said to be the general states of affliction that lead to creating the karma to be born there. The realms are said to be incredibly destitute, grim wastelands with no food or drink to be found anywhere in sight. The beings there go for months and years on end without ever finding even a morsel of food or a drop of water to drink. They are exhausted and weak and cannot find any relief from their misery. It is said that the period of a full day and night for hungry ghosts is equivalent to a whole month in human time. That the average lifetime of a hungry ghost based on that scale is approximately 500 years. There are two basic categories of hungry ghosts, those who live collectively and those who move through space. Contemplating again and again the suffering of the realms of hungry ghosts, you can think, there is no satisfaction to be found anywhere among the 6 classes of beings in the 3 realms of samsara. As such, I shall incline my mind toward genuine renunciation and will dedicate my entire life to the path of liberation and awakening demonstrated by the Buddha. Keep going? Or maybe somebody reads?
All right, that's okay. Rida dila nga to dongji shuntan nawa chiwari ki dong labgdwa. Tene nawa chiwari tene ta korang ke sachata yeda yunda wuji lakini dovares.
Yamta?
Ta nawa chiwari tamiji la iba nawa chiwari. Tene kondove kabla tene ta kolungba rawo ta korang ke feelings na ta kanda tene jela tene 사제적 런로는 다 콜라 갖고 없는 거 추직대로 치슬라브레스 될랍디네 다미 오 갈라고 처럼 배든 거저 추다 거나 추세야 돼요 추다 파셔 보이네 추세야 그 맹도다 다거나 요 말이스다 배 될라베메스 티칼레 카보레스
So there is a story, one of these stories about this Ngawa Chewari, who went in his kind of clairvoyant travels to the realms of hungry ghosts and was wandering, was wandering about there, and he started to feel very thirsty. So he asked another inhabitant of that land, please, I'm very thirsty, can you get me some water? Where can I find water? And they responded saying, water? We have not seen water in eons. We have not even heard the name water, the word water, and like in unfathomable periods of time. No water here.
또 다 되게 나이데 제메 직다 근데 마 칠로 돈에 되네 오다 가서데 사야다 되네 통야트니 요 말이스 벤나 차샤윈 다추 가사카른 로그 요사레스다 니게 되네 초아 다 칼란레 추간 로버레스 칼란 추간 로네 다 콜로 주니 로요레스 이나코 다도 통야 가야민도스 초나 되네 즉 로나 되네 지디 코토 소나 되네 다 라브로치 승가서 딩가서 보고만 보여레스 되네 디 칼라지 키네다 로쇼스 라요레스 되네 다티 하고지 말에 지나서 이다 암다마다 보여레라 되네 모랑게 explain 그 저 코데 남티스 만다요레스 소탄데네 요레스 라요로와
So, and then there was a woman, like a hungry ghost woman, who told him, when he met her, she said, and he was traveling on, she said, hey, if you please just if you could, keep an eye out for my husband. My husband left here looking for food to bring back to us, and he's been gone for 12 years. So if you see him, please tell him to come back with some food, for all of his children who are all very hungry, that, it's been too long, and to please come back quickly. And he said, well, yeah, okay, but, there are so many, like, different hungry ghosts, and they, many of them look kind of similar. How do I know which one he is? And she said, oh, well, he has, like, these specific traits. He's a little bit different, a little unusual. This is what he looks like. If you see him, please tell him to come back. And so he arrived at Bodh Gaya in his travels.
We familiar, right? So we
sometimes, for instance, like, we're familiar, right, when we do the Gana Chakra, when we do the talk.
다 초동도 가르치고 올라오이나 땅아서 초다사 되니 대사자베 효라 땅아서 뒤에 가르쳐버리 레멘더 라고나리 텔레테네 콜렉션 달랍 온도로와 든디지 지리 딱고 예다 딱고 소나 메바데네 가서로 지 초로 동네 코티나 고 라게요 말이스 디인드티네 다지 코지 가서 랍 온도 텔레테네 직다 텔레코티스 고카비오레스 가서는 코란서다 lower spin 차리오로와 티네 가서 텔 데디케이션도 치나 티네 고소 토비아 고카비오레스 제네 이네 가서는 다 페나 단다디 비나야 티네 다 게롱트 소로와 미치니 그래서 같이 걸으시나 티네 지 칼라세차비 휴글라 티네 가서 지 leftover chamjik tene tele specific tene yidala ko megne ta manu tong tene tel tene pa tegi yores
그냥 그냥 칼루 돼서도 삼성.
that nam tong mola
okay. So as we know, when we do the talk, we have, we take a little bit of the talk that we have partaken of as what's called the remainder. We collect those, and the point of those remainders is to dedicate them to those beings who don't have the merit to receive ordinary food, to make them accessible to these beings like hungry ghosts. It becomes like an opportunity for these beings in like the lowest kind of most destitute situation to receive a little bit of sustenance through the power of our love and compassion and dedication of those remainders, for them. Because of the power of that, of our practice and our dedication, then it is said that maybe they can partake, of those remainders that they wouldn't otherwise have access to. Also, there's something similar in the Vinaya for fully ordained monks and nuns, that when they eat, that there is always like a specific like dedication that is made, of a remainder, like a little bit of their food that is given, that is dedicated, with, the recitation of, for instance, Mani Mantra and so forth, that they then can give to these beings in destitute states like hungry ghosts.
오다 티가라 나와 치와리 게티네 다 게롱 티게티네 다 창오지마 요네 테지티네 다 디나라 이다 몽보 고소 참가지압네티네 에 도요리 테지티네 다니기 제멘티 라바나기 코게다지 요로와 텔레티네 라비오리스 다 코인사레자노 다 저런 디 저런 페제 저런게 제멘인사리 디인동아 토송 tene ta tike ko mo kala go de has kala kikla dos la yorwa tene yeda de re ngare sin ta nga lo junin dores lo junin dore tene ta lo junin na nga kala te kasa kala ro yores Tendone tene da karira yore lamna tene slava no giro la gelon paktushna number thaba chege tene cons dedication chigirwa techine tende ji ra yore sistema kan ra masons tende da tendo ni da ji ngaso being bena cha sha bina da tende cons loba sinde tso kono ke ji tobya kokap tigana dedication chi tende ji ngo monam china da tende ko tobya kokap yosarwa oda tende ji top songs da tenge be nyane la pe na tende ko semo song man tende pa chlo thong yorwa tende chi ne da lo juni ne tama thong na tende rama songs ala yorwa
So this Ngawa Chewari was there in Bodh and he saw, you know, that there were all of these like hungry ghosts and spirits that were kind of clamoring for remainders that were being dedicated, you know, that they were all fighting and trying to get like a little morsel of. And he suddenly realized, oh, that's the husband of the woman who asked me to deliver this message. And so he recognized him and he approached him, and because he was able to see him because of his clairvoyant powers, and he was able to communicate with him because of this, and he said, hey, I met your wife, and she said to please deliver this message to you, you know, that you've been gone now for so long, for 12 years, they're starving, they're waiting for you, they want you to come back. And he said, yes, I have been looking for food for 12 years. The only thing I have managed to get a hold of is a little bit of phlegm, like a little tiny bit of phlegm or saliva that was dedicated by this one really pure monk, you know, who was very pure and very realized. And he, in his dedication prayers, through the power that I was able to receive like a little bit of his phlegm. And I have been holding it here in my hand, the fingernails had grown through the other side of his hand because he was holding it so desperately, so tightly in his fist to bring back to his hungry ghost family. But he said, apart from that, you know, the only thing I have been able to have any access to is, you know, that which is, you know, made available through dedication and aspiration prayers. But even still, it's so hard to get a hold of. And this is all that I've managed to get.
Ko sok ndamanda tindi yungu yosarwa ata ngazo ji thundo tzola ta na ta gahe thundo cha di yore gahe nyarwa cha di yore gahe yeda cha di yore pen gahe ndo in ta tan tindi yore sometimes semya kahi do ko khala ndo tv na ta ko thambo ko khala pe tse gi yorwa 이내야 칼라지고 칼라티나고 항상 현황요로 빼다 그런 항상 현황인데 지기도 와 근데다 I know exactly about my feelings just go 이다 해기다 거디나 나조 통구요 말와 나조 원래로 와 이내야 거다 단단데 송발라고도 이게 디나리요래 되네 다 빼다 항상야 되네 빼 칼라도 송댕에 프로텍치댕에 티런 좀 많은 게 되네 요래 라고도 와
So, you know, there are so many different beings with different forms, and, you know, even in the animal realm, like when we watch, you know, different animals, we can think that, you know, we observe their behavior. Sometimes it seems like they are almost like hell beings or hungry ghosts. You know, some creatures, like that you can see, they're just constantly looking for food. And then sometimes if you try to give them some food, they're actually scared of the food. They don't trust it, they don't eat it. And so it's kind of like, you know, we see them as ordinary, but like, you know, ordinary animals, but actually their experiences may be more like that of a hungry ghost, you know.
Yeah, sometimes I don't know this depends. Maybe even the human beings, I don't see that human being is hungry ghost, but sort of like they have in a married. One time I this
Oh, yeah.
huh?
I think I know.
What do you know?
I think maybe, but go ahead.
So I think Christmas Day, so the one woman in the parking lot, I think this what is Royal King, whatever, so the parking lot, so okay, that time I see, okay, today is Christmas, so maybe.
She was a beggar. She was,
beggar.
she was a homeless person who was
Right.
asking for money at the side of the road, with like a
This is
sign.
parking lot, so that I thought, yes, $30, that's today's opportunity.
It's Christmas. He wanted to give her
like
$30.
One guy, this is the parking lot, but one guy hung me. I just stopped. I sort of stopped, opened the window, but he. So there, okay, yeah, maybe I can turn around, so I did turn around. He's gone.
She was gone, so he didn't get to give her. He was going to give her $30, but she was gone by the time he circled
Kind of
back.
like I look around, he's walking somewhere. I didn't find.
She was somebody who, it was Christmas Day, and she was like a homeless person asking for, like with a sign, asking for help, for money, right? And so he slowed down to give her, he was thinking he was going to give her $30, but this other car behind him was honking so loudly that he felt like he couldn't stop. So he thought, okay, I'll turn around and come back and give it to her. But by the time he came back around, she wasn't there and she was nowhere to be found. So it was like her karma not to receive this offering that he was going to give her.
So sometimes interesting, it just. So. But also this, so the reason is, katang lao na yira ta nga zo jetang karse na da katang kong hyuwa na yira da zo da nyong ba de hyuk che jung ri di na yang nga zo ji hedang la so ba de ne tene ko ji nyarwe ke da karse gore experience yungwa da tene zo karse da nga zo sinna la de ne sinna da chado la de ne ta yida ji di ne 직 선나더니 요와 때네다 고바기 소남 요마와 때네 소남메디 때네 제 가두이나 지 콜람가라고 때네 가데원라고 지 베나탄나와 치와릴랍도 고 모니치나 고 홀리 릴라이스 몽보요리 데디케이션 몽보 치고요리 이내야 코너 로중이나 칼라토비오 말와 오다 텐더 때네 가시 지 고갑 가리오나 고갑 라로원라고 지 다 가데원라고 차비요 사레스다 이다 케지
So, kind of what he was talking about yesterday, that it's really good to think about when we have the arising of certain afflictions, because of course we all have afflictive emotions, but there are different degrees, right? So when we have an experience of anger, for instance, to really relate that feeling of the anger to, it's like fully blown result of like hell realms, or if we have some real like a feeling of strong miserliness, or jealousy, to then think about, what the kind of karma that creates on so many different levels, because even if it isn't that, doesn't ripen as say like we become a hungry ghost and have this experience he described of someone like searching for 12 years for some tiny scrap of food and can't even manage to get a little bit of like what is, dedicated by these like realized beings. But like still there are different ways that kind of karma ripens, like in this example, for instance, of this woman, of like things become, there are obstacles, like pathways become blocked, like when it affects our merit and the lack thereof, that in some that the causes can become such that doors close for us, like the pathway isn't open. We don't end up like having access to things because of this, that, or the other, right? And that also is karma. It's a product of, some like maybe affliction, that was acted out in a certain way.
Okay, so now we 10 minutes contemplate. so, yeah, somebody read.
Would someone like to volunteer to read the next section? Yvonne? Yeah. So, Tanika Barbadu, maybe. Yeah, but maybe all the way. So
Okay.
maybe all the way through the rest of the hungry ghost, like so the hungry ghosts who live collectively, and then all those up to the animal realms,
Okay, the number
right? Or should it just be? Yeah, I would do that. Okay.
is the number 321.
Yes.
Okay, hungry ghosts who live collectively. 3211, hungry ghosts with external creations. These beings have obstacles to receiving food and drink due to external conditions. They wander endlessly in search of something to eat or drink. Sometimes they see a lake far in the distance, only to find that it has dried up once they finally reach it. At other times, they may see a lush orchard far in the distance and travel for miles and miles dreaming of the relief they will feel to finally eat some luscious fruit, only to find all the branches wither and parch with nothing whatsoever inside to eat once they arrive. 3212, hungry ghosts with internal obscurations. For these beings, the main obstacles preventing them from quenching hunger and thirst have to do with their own conditions of an impaired physique. They have tiny pinholes of a mouth, very thin throats, and giant bellies. They search tirelessly for something to eat or drink, but when they finally get their hands on something, they have great difficulty fitting into their mouths. If they do, their burning agony of squeezing it down, their thin throat is excruciating, and they succeed in swallowing. And if they succeed in swallowing, it does nothing to even slightly satisfy their hunger, since their giant bellies are so immense and impossible to fill. That sounds kind of human, too. 3213. Hungry goes with specific obscurations. These beings have any number of specific causes and conditions that ripen in unique ways, preventing them from quenching their hunger and thirst or allowing them to find any relief. Oftentimes, they are host to parasites and experience all varieties of discomfort and misery. 322. Hungry ghosts who move through space. These are negative spirits and ghosts who roam about in a state of constant torment with negative intentions. They often harm humans and other beings and are terrorized themselves by their own phenomena. They often have to live out the traumatic deaths that lead them to their current state over and over again. They stay trapped in their current manifestations for an indefinite period of time. Often due to the negative karma they continue to create as evil spirits, they fall to even lower states as hell beings when they finally die and are reborn. Contemplating again and again the suffering of the realms of hungry ghosts, you can think, there is no satisfaction to be found anywhere among the 6 classes of beings in the 3 realms of samsara. As such, I shall incline my mind toward genuine realization and will dedicate my entire life to the path of liberation and awakening demonstrated by the Buddha.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah, 10 minutes, contemplate. Tene nga ta ida te chi simbarwa. Tene ta jetang nga the history synergy labdu te yung do. Nga karba sa ji yorwa. Ta karba chik la I not sure exactly humi yer kasi ne thank me lo yimi na yang. Ta nga karba te la Vegetarian soda.
Sita taha magona jelala. Marave.
Ida ko saria. Te warke ketene da keba warke jachula. Tene nga so karchenji la wores. Da karba tele te isarang solar system chi.
The 18, Shobje or 80? 80.
Yeah, 80.
So, so now we went through the realms of hungry ghosts, and in general, like it's good to know kind of the structure of time and Buddhist cosmology. So, for instance, and he doesn't remember exactly like what the equivalent is in human years, but we have these structures of time that are called kalpas. There's like one great kalpa, and then there are intermediate kalpas, and 80 intermediate kalpas make up one great kalpa. Dene kare.
The karba
Denda yo marawa. So actually, no. There's 20. Karela? So nishu kare? They test lo na ya grawa na so nor na ya for marawa.
No, that's okay. So karba chaya la warki nishu grace.
So kapa chaya la barka nishu go yore.
Tene karba tela neya la kasi negres na warki nish negres. Tene karba tama tonya la tomba chaya la warki nish negres. Tene karba tomba tongjang kaya mewa cha warki nish negres.
So, so one great kalpa consists of 80 intermediate kalpas, and that, so first there's the formation of like a universe, and that takes about 20 intermediate kalpas. Then there's the abiding of that universe that exists for about 20 intermediate kalpas. And then there is a period of destruction of that universe, which also lasts for a period of about 20 intermediate kalpas. And then there is a period of nothing at all, where there's nothing. And that also is a period of about 20 intermediate kalpas. So altogether, there are 80 intermediate kalpas that comprise one great kalpa.
Tene ko nyung mong ba mewa tene res la budwa yina yang da zo karsena tene khale karsena nga se ya ji da hian do ji tene go zo chi ne tene le sa bi res mu ku ne tene le sa ne ti le sa kya wen de khale thambo di ben mu yu be ka la ye da yo ma res tene jignyarwala soba yo maris yimbi ne yang da lesa ne ta thamadela tene nyarwala tene nyarwe ta jiglib gres nyarwala 오다 티니 텐도 오다 가서 탄다 삼나 단다 무유라 탄 가서 레모고 휴살기도 와. 티니다고 데네 다녀르베 나라 뭐 유세그레스라고 돈다 데려와.
So when the world system or universe is forming, like because there's two aspects to this. There's the outer container that is the universe or the environment, and there's the inner inhabitants of sentient beings. So at the beginning of the formation of a kalpa, there's no collective, there's no karma. So the beings are actually like super refined beings, like light beings that have no afflictive emotions, and are very subtle. And so then and likewise with the worlds that they inhabit. And then what happens is things like there starts to become then the subtlest kind of glimmer of self-grasping starts to develop, and then based on that self-grasping, then like little bits of karma is gradually starts to form or be created, and then the beings become coarser and coarser, and then eventually they become like fully coarse beings, and we have then there are more and more opportunities for beings to create karma. And so that's how then all of the different realms become more kind of structured and formed through, because at first you don't have that like coarse level duality, but then gradually with the grasping of self and then other, and then based on attachment and aversion, more and more karma, and then gradually you have like the full development of like the outer environments and the beings therein. But prior to this, there isn't the karma created to have hungry ghost realms or hell realms. But then as the karma starts to get created, then there become the corresponding experience in realms of beings, according to that, the karma that's created. So at first, actually, like the hell realms and hungry ghost realms don't exist, but then gradually, like samsara becomes filled up, if you will.
That no, you take no, within the human being. 단다섬노 땅비는 양아죠. 냐레타 라바나 이리 냐바티기다 유세기레 스와 뭐 유세기레 because of the 가죠 action 로와 단디 긴잠블링 같이 거리. 대가 나기게 단단 잠블링 디나 거라 베네 무유 지구섬노 땅비나다 원에지 노래도 창대와도 지도와 무나나 강이 가서 티비요레 로와 무 강이 가서 소비요레 삼내 가서 요레.
So there are, these separate realms of existence that are possible, that are kind of karmic reflections, of appearance. But then also, if we think about like in the world, in our human realm, all those realms also exist within the context of human experience. So we can look around and we can see, the obvious sufferings of the human realm, but we can also see within the human realm the suffering of the hell realm. We can see the suffering of the realm of hungry ghosts. So all the different realms also are apparent, within the spectrum of human experience.
That in the tanga to Karsina individually, then champagne, Chanjo Sam, then you desola, Jikindi, Mayoya, Molam Jaya, or that he Kachimbu in Sares. Tomato Bectang, on Zamblin Corona, some Jimachawatan Konshuana Yeriko, Nyarwayan, human being on Tandai, you wonder, Yedala, you wonder, or that in the Chadegua, then Tagana, you Tundorico, stupid Chigua, Tundo say at all, Tundo de la Cupares, stupid La Gorota, Tanayita, Tandala, Natso Koran, would perfect teacher, because Nala Sombana Yedi, Tene, G. Carsegore. 대완도장 대위 주도 메히바 동ар mendo장 동ar 주 빵메히바 되네 지 현도 당이랑 건도바다 당 라렌의 친출로도 쳐봐 어다 되지 제대기도 와 갈선당 가서 점블링 human being 상마 Murray Dechi Mandon Suji Yomari Yimbi in a young Zumbling Ditone Tine Mulut Dubotanya Kesam Mujanari Dua, Saya, Tobia Dubotanya, Tegana Yikitine, Tanya sea in stand up at Chabrachi or on Yemandri say some tacope, huge chaji in Bondo. That's me in the that is on the theatre some of Tangoyata, Ninji Goyata, Jimon Balatin, Mayu Monam Jacoyata. The individual that's all geoloyat, cart geolo over Slavina, Corona Sosumune, Logo Matobi Tachi, Himbachatani Major Geologia, Yomarwa, Talatin Matsuta. Jing so some going in the Jaya in a rate in a Tandako human being coronally some town cheating at some chick champagne town, Ninja town, Shenjik Dungati, a Jikun learning of the Simti Chigoya, Dungi Chigoya, Yom Martina Yang, who did Dungi Hakon, Dungi the Mayumba, Dungeting, Yamaji Chandoya, or that in the Chibina, Carsenta, Hela, Kalipan Togo, and Hingmari. You mean like a raw provocation child of yours?
So it is really important individually to use these experiences that we witness in the world, of all these different realms, as a means to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, to cultivate, altruistic intention, the wish to benefit others, to make aspiration prayers, really deeply wishing for the relief of the suffering of all these beings. Really, kind of, whenever because we have direct contact, we hear about these terrible things that happen that are like the hell realms. We might witness some hungry ghost-like experience or suffering of beings, and, and also the suffering of the animal realm, which is also all around us. And, animals, that is said, they have this stupidity or kind of mental darkness, the inability to really use kind of they don't have the same access to the level of intelligence that human beings have, for instance. So, like as it says in the words of my perfect teacher, even though, they all beings wish for happiness, but they don't know, not understanding accurately the causes of happiness. They don't have the intelligence to be able to, for instance, choose to practice virtue, knowing that that is going to lead to happiness, or to choose to avoid non-virtue, knowing that non-virtue is going to perpetuate their suffering. And not just animals, but human beings. This is the same for many human beings. And even if there is a desire to create the causes of happiness, still the actions and their wishes are in contradiction to each other. So although we all, all beings want happiness, they again and again create the causes of suffering. And we see this in the human realm, so many stupid and terrible things that are done, and not understanding that the outcome is going to bring their own suffering. Even those who, for instance, harm other people, other beings, or kill people, and then they celebrate that or feel that it's an accomplishment and they brag about it or advertise, the harm that they do to others as if it's some achievement or some happiness or some accomplishment. And so when we see those things and we really see what's going on with compassion there, then we can make, we should make aspiration prayers, that these beings may kind of awaken to the reality of karma, cause, and effect, that they may not have to experience the the result of, that they may learn, to understand karma, cause and effect, and instead, to create causes of happiness and avoid the causes of suffering. So we need to reflect on the suffering of the three lower realms and develop compassion, but we also don't only need to imagine what those actual physical realms are like. We can use the example of what we see here, on earth in the world, as examples of these three lower realms, and use that to develop great compassion and to make, aspiration prayers for the welfare and benefit of all beings. And we don't need to become worried about it or distraught about it or really too anxious about it, but actually just to have love, to let it allow us to develop our love and compassion, and to say, make aspiration prayers. May all beings purify their obscurations. May all beings become purified. May all beings be free from suffering, and to have the intention, to develop the power to be able to benefit beings. So it may be the case that we're not able to help, that we're not able to benefit the situation, that we're not able to help beings, but when we use the intent, the situation to develop our own mind, the qualities of our own mind, our love and compassion, then that becomes something that helps to purify our obscurations.
So maybe one question you have?
So the individual that harms others, who kills or abuses or tortures, is that happening because of karma as well? Like that action to harm?
Like kongso denda di nupa tangken yarawa me shimba seken je yona kongso denda chapa gi jimsen le rebe kongso gi le rebe me shimba seyala
Di ko le sa yor wa.
yini yang di yang drebu dawo rebe ngome gi le gi drebu
Re women do re. Then that tremendous create le.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely happens because of a lot of conditions that are based on former karma, and they're creating much worse karma through what they are currently doing.
Then not to lay you wa not to lay one can do say le tele chipa juntu say no one juntu say atmi ko le yores.
So if you remember during this section of karma, cause and effect, we talked about the different types of karma. So there is the karma of any given action has the fully ripened result, the full ripening result. There is the residual result that ripens in the form of experience. There's the residual result that ripens in the form of tendency. So if you killed in the past, then the residual ripening result of tendency is that you have an inclination to kill. You have a desire to kill. So that's karma. That's ripening karma, right? And there's the result that ripens in the form of environment. So whatever is in one's environment is also a product of past karma.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Just like a clarification, it's like a two-part question. When you were mentioning about the picture, when we put on the altar, I've seen several centers, when somebody dies, and even family members, like maybe even I've done it too, when somebody dies, you put it in the altar for a couple of days or whatever, kind of to commend it to God or to the Buddhas, to whoever that person believes on, right? So my question is then, is that different then for like when what you're saying is just don't put it and worship or kind of like put it in like the place of a Buddha, but it's okay to put it when someone dies? Because I've seen it in several centers when a Sangha member dies and then they put the picture on the altar. Like I've seen it many times. And then, right? And then the second part of that question is, you know, in Mexico we have this tradition of altars on the Day of the Dead. And you actually make an altar, a whole altar, just for the one person, or like the whole family lineage, or even famous people, people that really have some love for like a famous person. And you put food in there and you put all this, you know, things in the belief that they can come this one time special and get nourished and get some merit and get some goodness wherever they are. So that's also different then? I just want to clarify because these are all like, I've never had this question until you mentioned this right now, so I just want to clear that out.
Right. Theravada, first question di, yeah, this good question. So first question tela, re da nga so ji, ngone china, chong songye part tela, auto facing to the Buddha ro china, ngone china, kon dek bando ro wa.
So he said to answer the first question, he thinks, you know, that actually if we put if there's a picture, you know, someone who died, then maybe if we put it on the altar facing the Buddha, right?
So otherwise we kind of not exactly worship them, but we can do the prostration to the altar, you know, so if someone's picture there, so the kind of including, so, but sometimes, you know, only I think we can put is the sadhana, like, you know, there is image, like order one is the letter ni, you know, they never put the picture. So
they put there's the
but this
letter,
is the
the
tradition, I
letter
don't know picture,
ni,
but normally
ni.
it's not really picture, that's maybe details. But second question is, tanda di ampar hya khalati ko koranso the family lineage tisochina, not worship chigi omarwa. Then degrees, tela ko khalati tinichi.
But if you put, for instance, like in another place, separated from the altar, like maybe a different or a lower kind of altar or something, and then you have the picture of the person and you put like food by it and light like a butter lamp for them, like that would rebe, butter lamp, Joe? Okay, so just the food.
Food, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's not very worship, right? So we just, if you picture and then offering to them, basically,
Making
not really
offerings to
worship,
them.
you know. So nga so surba tabu yo marwa.
So we're not like supplicating them, we're making offerings to them.
Da
in
thong
the
ro ke
bardo.
koran ki chi to le yin do samne ne khala ina choba puna choba sen ta kanda whatever khala hya na degrees.
So like whatever the offerings that we're making to that person in the bardo, like the food and stuff, then that's what you can put there.
That's okay.
There's a question online. She's had her hand up for a while.
Okay.
If she can unmute.
Oh, that's me, I think. Hi, guys. I have a comment on our contemplations and a question. First is the comment is that I can go through all these realms, I think, within the matter of a day, even probably shorter than that, from the hell realms all the way up and down. But when we were contemplating the hungry ghost, you know, some things that came to me that I thought that kind of resonate in this human realm, you know, when, you know, at least I experience as being a hungry ghost is, you know, when I feel discontentment, you know, when I feel of a lack of, you know, poverty, mind thinking, like not satisfied or overdoing things or even greed, when we feel a little greedy. I feel like that's kind of an example of a hungry ghost, at least for me. But so that's just something I was contemplating. But my question is, going back to the beginning, does the removal of mental afflictions or obscurations mean that you don't experience them anymore? Or you experience them, but you don't grasp and hold on to them. You let them come, you feel them, you act appropriately with them that come, but they don't like crunch on you and you hold on to it all day long and make a bigger deal out of it than it is.
There's a couple draw. Yini yang de mo tinda draw yana mo pena de nima chik nanga deni yang de draw recto ge yang pacher nyam yang de nima chik nanga do yojire tinda so morang rang la pena samsara serna shu chimbo lang yore shedang yang la sopa yini yang tinda yang de sharne garci pena de zimba shira mena dene madzine dene de te sa yang shargere yene yang zimba tes chungwa dene yang de tuwa kande yamba shira koma song
Really, that not the some Congress, Confuana Yeri, Taco, Jig Nomobody, Cochatan Yori, Samsung, so Choralabana Yeri, Samsung Hiatan Jigre, Samsung Chagdol Hungary, Samsung. Nga zo la simte yore ta tala so batne nga zo yung yore is da di ji mutsama la exactly hyo chejung ji pa da yo mare thi na yang ko thi ta nyom mo ba men ge yo mare nyom mo bo yo jum sa de na nga zo ko tham yore is tine choran la ba na ji re ta di ya sho te khar se na ta ji nyom mo ba ma sha ya te ta ki te ta so ya tim tombo shivje malana kabores ina harwe ne kala chorala bana geta ben the best te kazana haro tunyam de ko je nyomba da har telanzimba maji tene ko pa yesona da di han saya ke pe yabores ina da ko haro tunyam chagi mi ina ya ti jes mandaya kesi jes mandana
So yeah, absolutely. That is very good to see that is our experience that we have in, any given day, often many different afflictions that arise. We have anger, we have jealousy, we have pride, we have anxiety, we have, all sorts of different manifestations of afflictive emotions, and they're in different degrees. Sometimes they're strong, sometimes they're not as strong. That there's nobody who's not going to have the arising of afflictive emotions unless you're like a fully enlightened being, who's fully purified all your obscurations. So to be completely free of afflictive emotions is not the reality of really pretty much anyone. So to recognize that, to be aware of that as these emotions arise, and there are different ways to relate to them, that brings that experience, onto the path in a positive way. And the best way is what you're describing, which is that when the affliction arises, that there's not a lot of grasping to the affliction, that you're able to sort of see its empty nature as it arises. And the most developed experience of that is that when the affliction arises, seeing its empty essence, it is liberated upon arising. So the shining forth of the afflictive emotion and the liberation of the afflictive emotions happens like simultaneously. But this isn't.
That's not the best way.
That's the best level, like the highest kind of level, the best level of relating to the afflictions. But even if that's not the case, even if it's not quite like that, to have less fixation and to not get wrapped up in or follow after the afflictive emotion and feed the story of it is like a huge accomplishment. So that ends up being, you know, a way to relate with the afflictive emotions that has less impact, karmic impact.
Okay, there are two questions in the chat. Danny asks, why hungry ghosts don't die because of their hunger? And Zoldi asks, how can we deal properly with hungry ghosts that cause harm to human beings?
Sorry, say that again?
First question.
The first question is why don't hungry ghosts die from hunger? And then the second question is how can we deal properly with hungry ghosts that cause harm to human beings?
The hungry ghost.
So hungry ghost kong so pe thogi yo na gari chini shigi yo mare. Nga so yena de thoko han sa ya thona shigi ro wa. Kong so gari chini shigi yo mare.
That the later wa, later you know this pen and Yarwanda Ochina. Natsu Moina, Kamba talk and go on Shigerwa.
Yeah.
Katanko Leza Hadi, Yan, Kokamba talk and go to super summer chopped up Tina, Higmanoa, or layers. Then I hungry ghost take Kasana, Ko Leza with Jim Santana, Ko and the Lojuni Kalamarana, Ko Tadon Togo your Lojuni, Dungiama, come we hear your marisco.
So they don't die because that's their karmic situation. So like, you know, they can be starving for years and years and years and not die because they're not human beings. Like we can't go for very long without hunger, we die. Or same with like the example of hell beings, he said, you know, where their like bodies get chopped up and they still don't die, you know? So like if somebody chops up our body, you know, we're gonna die. But so it depends on the karmic disposition of those beings.
The more suffering, you know.
And so, and they have to endure more suffering as a result because they don't die. And then the yeda yang ire mer yo la nupa chepe penagarsi yeda che ngacho la nupa tangiyo na tene gande che tu kare.
I don't know. Yeda kapto ngacho no batangiyo samari sam. Getanga to that can be yeda, but the mambo yorwa. Demon do the soke no batangiyo jire.
So he said that actually he doesn't think that hungry ghosts can really harm humans. It usually the beings that harm humans are like spirits and demons.
Or demons.
But it says that's one of the types of hungry ghosts that's mentioned here actually. Labdua. Penadinda de la de yamba nangshin. La dang dre nupa tangking young hungry ghosts yore trito. De young de gare de kunsang lame shalom.
Of course, sometimes that need to charge those cigarettes. Penako Yada Koranke Yang Korani together combination Ben and Dead or combination Charles in a Yada Koranke, Kato Chigi or Samari, Sina Yanko Yada Yanko combination, you cigarettes, demendo.
So, yeah, so it's kind of like their combination. They can be that they're like kind of a type of hungry ghost in a way, and they're also like demons or spirits that then, yeah, that can cause harm.
Ina yata the ngatu the tell of the specific ngatuta pena tandanga tuta te mombo yore no bando alabgroa ngatu the parse hining do no la so momodo Tina la ko yida at mewa sundo la hira yo martan te and rekndam da yoro ngatu gire don ra je chibe don te nga po don jerbo mo don dam da yoro.
So they're like you know, there are tons of non-human spirits that, like in different practices that are done to avert the obstacles of those different entities and spirits, like the 80 classes of demons, right? 8 or 80? 80, and like the male, how many male demons and how many female demons and like this, that, or the other, all of these different, like different varieties of non-human beings. And there are these different practices that are done to like avert the harm of those beings. But hungry ghosts are not mentioned in those.
But 대다 고지 예다당 가장 니체들라 즉 네님이당 소님이리라고도 잠깐 요새겠어.
Gareda?
앞에는 예다당 발생해서디 여러 가지 니체 니엔콜로 니 니체와 그래서 나한테는 즉 네님이 소님이
But there are types of hungry ghosts like that are mentioned here, and also the hell realm beings, like in the ephemeral realms in particular, you know, where it's like uncertain where they're located. It's uncertain, like how, you know, where
different realms.
they can be kind of like in the partially in the human realm.
Or this logo spread, so on. 이내야 다 조제효대 가서 노바 땅야디 갈세나 가서 몽볼라비어다 대이나리 예다이나리 갈세나디 그택 노치로 하스베 택도 갈세나 고파 갈책도 스타그로 고디 메텔 노바 땅 톱사리 말이 자면디 요러와 가리디 택 the testing doji.
Investigate?
No. 이네 갈센다 데리다. 당시 유지 요러와. 유들라 코다 현황탕 제킨 짐바요나 되니 고 노바 땅야게다 고 현다오지 되니 차기 요리스 땅그레스. 이네 양코지 ngazo ngone 직 텔라카는 제킨 짐바 미나 되네 공손다 바탕 톡 말이에요.
So the most important thing in terms of like whether it's demons, non-humans, hungry ghosts, like some other entity that's causing harm to you or to humans. So the main thing is in the reaction of the human. Like if there's fear, if one becomes fear and kind of believes in the potential harm of the being, then one is much more vulnerable. So if one is sort of like doesn't allow that concept to enter, you know, and is not, then one isn't, you know, the beings that want to harm are able to harm when there is human reactivity to that or reaction to that. If the beings are scared of them, they can harm them.
So this we are sort of highest practice or is like we can Malaripa story, right? So this Malaripa tell that this what the rocky demon, why you come me, why you can't attack me, Malaripa asked to rocky demon.
They're the rock demoness.
Right, and then the rocky demon said, no, that's not my fault. I not really attack either, but you create. So because Malaripa first time in the cave, he just cracked, you know, this kind of, then he thought, that's very strange. Maybe this thing, maybe inside they live the demons, you know. But that tindi kello yo na, tene konde yungu yo res ta. Yang te mai imbe ngaso jing de la ton matang ya da so ta ya tindi yo res.
So it was because of the concept of Milarepa that the demon was capable of appearing to him and causing harm. So when there is, you know, so it is the fear in the mind of the person, you know, that really determines whether there is the potential for harm or not.
다 대만이 바트는 가서 돌마다니 알아서 바카티.
And then apart from that, there's also, you know, like offering tormas, different practices that can be done.
Okay. So now we stop here.
Okay, so we'll do dedication prayer on page 24. Bottom of the page. By the virtues collected in the three times, by myself and all beings and samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Dagongpa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara.
Okay, thank you. See you 2 o'clock. So now,
2 o'clock. So it's the Jutsu Nipa Tata Leria Yurube. To Kongsola Yang de Chilo Ladrona Kale Kapotue.
okay. So we are right now is what is the after?
So it's now 12:20. So my question was just because we have people here, maybe people are going out for lunch, and we're just wondering, can everyone make it back at 2, or should we push it to 2 is okay? Okay, all right.
Okay. We have more time. Thank you. Maybe we okay skip the lunch. You not can skip that 2 a year. So.
Right, so we can manage
How many go skip 2 a year? 1 day.